Cracking. All right. Well, so welcome everyone to our webinar, How to Get a Job as a DevOps Engineer. My name is Bridget. I'm your host for today, and I'm just going to get right started with introducing everyone here. Danny is one of the co-founders of Naviro, who co-founded it 12 years ago. And then we have Martin here, who joined Naviro about 2 years ago as a senior consultant and is now a principal consultant, who just became that recently. Is that correct?
Yeah, about a year ago. Yeah.
Okay, about a year ago. Okay, so a little bit into that already. And then we have Brad here, who I actually know personally. Brad and I work together at Temenos, and he is now the head of cloud development, head of cloud development. Don't want to leave anything out there for Search 365. And yeah, we're just going to get right started into everything and start with Danny to tell us a little bit how Naviro started.
Yeah, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, and hello everyone. Hope you find this valuable. So yeah, we started Naviro in 2008, quite a while ago now, starting to feel quite old. Like most recruitment businesses, it started in a bar in Darling Harbour. Two of my friends who were also from the UK were doing complementary markets at another business, the Java market and the SAP market. And so we decided to cherry pick what we liked from our existing jobs and our existing roles. And yeah, created Naviro, fairly traditional business model, all vertical market specialists. Where we got our first wins was just timing, really. We were just quite fortunate to be one of the first DevOps people trying to achieve the DevOps environment. So system engineering and cloud engineering was becoming very, very prevalent. And a couple of my contacts were working in some of the big media companies, and we're just really embracing that sort of DevOps mentality and sort of trying to achieve best practice. So we helped them scale out in the days of Tomcat, Puppet and Squid and a lot of these technologies that might even be regarded as legacy cloud tech these days. But yeah, it meant that a lot of the old school engineers I was recruiting in sort of Unix, more on-premise types of bare metal infrastructure. A lot of those guys and girls were transitioning into the cloud, and it meant we could sort of skill our database up before most of the competition. And now it's still one of our most buoyant and popular vertical markets that we recruit in. And it is in most of Sydney's IT recruitment scene, or Australia's for that matter. If you are struggling to get a role at the moment, take solace in the fact that you are in a very, very good space, I would say. Yeah, so that's us. We are about 20 strong in Australia, and then we've got an office in London, which is mainly recruiting into the German market with a heavy emphasis on GCP and Golang. And yeah, it's going from strength to strength, this area of IT, as I'm sure you're aware. And yeah, we're one of the market leaders in Sydney at doing that, given our network. And a lot of the people that I placed historically have become managers and infrastructure managers over time. And Martin has taken the mantle in the newer era of cloud engineering. And yeah, it's a real buoyant sector of ours.
Okay, sounds good. Danny, would you like to go next and tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I joined Naviro about a couple of years ago. So my first start in recruitment was about 3 years ago, and kind of similar to Danny's story. I went into Naviro due to my mates. One of my best mates has done pretty well in recruitment, and we both share a very similar sort of personality. And he just said to me, "Why not give recruitment a crack?" And I just thought, why not? So basically, off the back of that, got into recruitment. Started off doing software dev recruitment before really finding my niche and a passion for DevOps. So I just found it very fascinating. It's a culmination of all different technologies, culmination of tech skills and soft skills as well. And off the back of that, got headhunted to join Danny's team 2 years ago, and haven't looked back since. Yeah, it's been a great journey so far. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm sure we hear a lot more about the DevOps skills from you then.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Brad, how about you? Tell us a bit about yourself and what brings you here.
Yeah, I started my career as a software engineer. Did that for a few years, and then wanted to move to Manly. So there was a job going out there at a company called Avoca. Started working there, and that's where I met my boss, Jeremy. He sort of mentored me through DevOps. I started off as a senior DevOps engineer, then transitioned into management. So then I was the engineering manager of the cloud innovation team, where we then got bought by Timros, and then now I'm working as the head of platform engineering for Search 365.
Okay, great. So I think one of the important questions would be like, how do I make myself visible to companies and recruiters?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try and answer that one. A lot of the things are really quite simple, and apologies if you're already doing this kind of thing, but recruitment can be quite a repetitive job, and you do see some very simple things that come up that make our job a little bit more difficult, and a bit more difficult to get to you guys at the right time. There's quite a few innovative software tools coming available and things like that, but just real simple stuff. Like one of my I guess pet hates is just put your mobile number on the contact info of, say, LinkedIn, for example. Make yourself as available as possible if you want to be available, that is. A lot of people don't, but if you are obviously looking for work, make our job easy to get hold of you with the right opportunities. That would be one tip. Also, I guess try and automate the process. You've probably heard a million times that looking for a job is a job in itself. So make sure that the time that you're spending chatting to people like Martin is valuable. So maybe think about stipulate obviously your usual benchmarks like your salary demands, what industry sectors you want to work in. You might only want to work in fintech, for example. You might only want to work in the CBD, or you might only want to work 100% or 80% working from home. So really set your stall out at the start about what you want. There's a lot of jobs out there. You guys are in demand. So yeah, feel free to be a bit picky. You've got a lot of the power in this marketplace, I feel. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think setting expectations from the outset is definitely something that's, would help you get the job. It's one of those things where, if you tell the recruiter this is what you want, they're going to go out there and try to find, what you want rather than, them chasing you. So,
yeah, so be available. You might not want recruitment consultants all in your mobile phone. Get a second one even. I mean, sometimes when I was looking for a house, I was getting so much real estate traffic, and it was getting quite hard to manage. That might be one option that I was just thinking of. And also just be present in the right places. So obviously GitHub, Stack Overflow, LinkedIn, which we've already mentioned, Slack channels, all these types of platforms, which I'm sure you're using regularly. Build your online reputation, the way you're answering technical issues and technical problems and communicating. I see people that know of people that they've never met before, obviously in the online communities, they've just built up that reputation. So I think that's important as well. Join the relevant LinkedIn groups that fit with your skill set and that you might have a passion for. And yeah, just try and be as communicative as possible. There's a lot of recruitment consultants that don't take conventional lunch breaks just so we can try and get hold of you when you're not looking at dealing with an incident or doing some work. So we're trying to get hold of you as best as possible. So it's just finding that right time where we can transact, we can really get to know you. You've already got that key information about what you want in the marketplace, and then we can do a better job for you. So that would be probably my top tips, really.
Yeah, I like what you said about automating, looking for a job, because that's what DevOps is all about, is automation.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Getting into that mindset of just reusing stuff and reusing your CV, going for the next job.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you are automating correctly, then hopefully the right requirements are going to come to you as soon as possible, really. So yeah, I'm
going to write that tip down about a burner phone. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe a cheap pay as you go or something like that. Yeah, that might work.
Yeah, great idea.
Okay, so then once you get hold of someone and they actually do make it to an interview, so what are some good tips or what's some good advice for interviews?
Yeah, I'll point out answer that. So as cliche as it sounds, I tell my candidates, just be yourself within an interview. Like, there's no point in faking who you are, no point in faking your tech skills or making up skills you may not have. You get found out relatively quickly by hiring managers, so there's no point in absolutely fluffing up your CV. If you've read about a certain technology, don't put it on your CV. Like, put on your CV what you know and what you're a master at. There's no point in flooding your CV with irrelevant, say, technical skills or knowledge that you may not have. And I think the other side of that is be enthusiastic in your interviews as well. I've had candidates who can do the job on paper and they get into an interview and they just show no enthusiasm for the role. They don't show any sort of, say, passion for the job, and they don't really sell themselves. Because as a recruiter, we can open the door for you. We can sell you to the client. But at the same time, the ball's in your court. You need to sell yourself well to the company.
Yeah, it's hard because a lot of the time in this area of IT, there's a heck of a lot of interviews happening, and you've got to try and do some background research on each industry sector that you're going through, and then prioritize what necessarily technical assessments you want to take or what companies are right for you, really. So.
And when you're going for a job, how much should you research the company that you're interviewing with? How much should you know about it?
I think you should know. You should definitely look at the website. Depending on which recruiter you use and how comprehensive they are, they should give you, say, the website, the background on the company, recent news of the company, what they do, what the business is about, any growth plans within the business.
Tech stack, whether they're public or private.
Yeah, exactly. So I think whilst there is an onus on recruiter to obviously provide information, it definitely doesn't hurt to do, say, even half an hour of reading on a company, get to really know what they're about.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just go back a little bit. It's all about being yourself as well. Interviews, the whole part of DevOps is culture, and generally the team will be the last one that signs you off for the job. So you really need to be yourself. You need to fit in. Be as honest as you can as well at the interview, and they will take that over. I wouldn't say pretending. Sometimes people don't know what good is, but really know what your strengths are, and then you can really show that on your CV as well.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
I think authenticity, but in our experience, most of the people we put forward and qualify are extremely authentic and transparent about their skill set. So.
And it was a good point about community. Another great thing about DevOps is the community. So there's so many people out there that want to help you. They want to get you into it. There's so many events like this one, for example. That's, I think, where I first met your company is they were always attending the DevOps events.
That's right, yeah. So we started a few meetups in a variety of different technical streams, and they were really successful, for sure. And we've got to be on our game as well, to be honest. It's used to be seen as a very unregulated industry, and it still is to some regards, but you can't really, it's quite a competitive marketplace, and you've really got to be on your A game and authentic and have the candidate's best interests at heart and do things like this for the community. So,
just on that note, has there been any development or changes in the last years where you see like this is a trend that's emerging now that's becoming more and more important?
I think you're probably best to answer this. We're so close to it.
Yeah, just in regards to, say, certain technical skills, like I think on the baseline you need to know public cloud, whether that be AWS, GCP, or Azure. Most companies are going down an infrastructure as code approach. So you've got your obviously native technologies, each cloud provider, like CloudFormation, or Azure ARM templates or anything like that. But there's been a common trend towards tools which are cloud agnostic, which means they work across all three cloud providers. So tools like Terraform are gaining popularity just because a lot of companies, they're going down more of a multi-cloud approach. They're picking bits and pieces of AWS, Azure, or GCP, depending on the use case, depending on the business case. And so it's better to get across technologies which are, say, works universally across all three cloud providers. And a lot of companies are moving away from, say, a monolithic architecture, monolithic applications towards a microservices architecture. So tools like Kubernetes, is absolutely imperative to that. So going back to the whole Kubernetes thing, like a lot of people upskilling themselves in Kubernetes, whether that be getting their Kubernetes certifications, whether that be the CKA, which is offered through the CNCF, so the Certified Kubernetes Administrator, or the CKAD, which is a Certified Kubernetes Application Dev certification. When a recruiter sees those certifications on your profile, they know that you've taken the time outside of work to research tools which are relevant in the market to help you stand out. Okay. So yeah, some very, very important certifications and tools to look into.
Aside from the ones you just mentioned, are there any other certifications someone should have?
Yeah, so Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, they all offer their own cloud certifications, whether that be a solution architect, whether that be a certified cloud architect. So yeah, it's always a good idea to get your cloud certifications in relevant cloud provider that you're strong with. Mm-hmm. For example, with certain consultancies and MSPs which operate in the market, their partnership ranking with those cloud providers get boosted by the cloud certifications you have. So their partnership ranking goes up. So having those cloud certifications does open the doors to, say, consultancies. So that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think if you haven't had DevOps experience in a job before, when you are doing these certifications, you should really focus on it's good to be really good at one thing opposed to know a little about a lot. So instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do an introduction course on all of these 3 clouds, no one probably wants that. So look at jobs posted in your local area and then say, okay, there's a lot of demand for AWS, for example, or Azure. Choose one when you're starting off, get to that sort of mid-level certification, and then after you can reassess if you want to do the others. But I think it's really important that you really want to just choose what you want to specialize in. In DevOps, there's a lot of different sort of personas, if you like. So, like we said, infrastructure as code. We have configuration management, such as Puppet, Ansible, monitoring, Dynatrace, lots of open source technologies as well. We have incident management, tools like PagerDuty. So that there's a lot of different categories that a DevOps team can have. So try and research what you like. You can do some courses to start off with, see what you enjoy doing, because the whole thing, you want to really enjoy what you're doing. And most DevOps people, they love their work. So, and then just really focus in on those certifications, and be strong at one.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing to add to that is obviously, say, CI/CD skills as well. That's a key element to DevOps. So one popular tool that I've seen as a recruiter would be something like Jenkins. So I don't know if you've seen or could recommend any other tools, Brad, or...
Yeah, I mean, there's also the cloud native ones. So you have, the ones in AWS and GCP, code build, and those certifications will cover those. So if you do those certifications, like generally, I would say your first job as a DevOps engineer is going to be probably like a sort of mid to large company, and they've probably just chose one public cloud already. So I think a lot of the CI/CD will be covered in those like DevOps engineer certificates. So I would probably advise to stick with that to start off with, to learn your fundamentals, prove with a certificate that you can do it, and then you can sort of go into Jenkins and stuff later on. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the industry that they call themselves a DevOps engineer just because they only know Jenkins, where there's a lot more. We haven't even talked about Agile, and it's hard to study Agile because that's more of a team thing. But yeah, there's just so many. Just knowing Jenkins is not going to get you a job, but it's great to have also.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's like the beauty of DevOps. Like, it covers such a wide range of tools across a wide range of areas.
Yeah.
As well. You could probably talk all day about all the different DevOps tools out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's too much to take on? I was thinking about this earlier. We've seen a huge upswing in the other business I'm involved with, Solicitor, in identity management and cybersecurity best practices. So you're more of an asset to the company that you join, especially maybe a smaller company where you might need to be a bit more generalist, not just a core DevOps engineer. Do you think that might be a valuable path to take, or do you think there's just too much to take in on the more traditional technology?
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, identity, IAM is one of the most fundamental things you can learn about, cloud DevOps. it's a hard one to get your head around, but once you learn it, you open your skills up to so many different services that everything interacts with identity.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies now are starting to realize the value of security. So therefore it's on their radar. They want people that know security. They want, it's sort of becoming into this another buzzword, DevSecOps, where, and they want to implement those champions in their company and sort of, influence the security of the company through DevOps.
So one individual could potentially, in the right role, take on both challenges in that sort of security and DevOps role.
Yeah, I think start off with the fundamentals. I think security is more senior DevOps.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. I mean, like you said, we have the CKA for Kubernetes, the CKD. There's a new one that's just come out called CKS. It's Certified Kubernetes Security Specialist.
Yeah.
But that's more of a seasoned DevOps engineer. So you have to get your CKA first. I think the security comes a little bit later.
Yeah.
And if you really just want to start off,
so if you're joining a smaller business and they need that advocate
then you've got a lot of study ahead of you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think one thing to note here is that DevOps is a senior role. This person should ideally come from either a development background or ops background, and they want to aspire to learn the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And they should have experience, in at least one and want to learn the other one.
I read your blog earlier and you were a big advocate of Python. Is there a reason why that's
I personally love Golang. Python's actually not my favorite, but I think if you're starting off, it's so easy to learn, and you can automate a lot of stuff with Python straight off the bat. You can use like one library in AWS called Boto3. If you learn that, you've all of a sudden just made yourself, more valuable to a company.
It's funny, so our UK and German business are just doing pure Golang based work now because the market potential is huge. And what often happens is Australia will sometimes emulate maybe a year or so later. It could be the other way around, but they're just doing pure Golang and GCP based recruitment now because the market in Germany anyway is so sizable, and it's just scaling out and getting bigger. So probably Python or Go would be both valuable.
Definitely, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Go is my favorite number one.
Sure.
But I actually, this is based on experience as well. So I tried to teach my team Golang, and it was just a little bit too hard to get around their heads because it's a little bit, if you're not from a development background, it's a little bit harder to catch than Python.
Right.
But if you're learning Golang, then you're not going to have a problem getting a job as well.
I struggle with both, to be honest.
And that can pop just in my head now. Are there certifications that are industry specific that you would say, if you want to go into healthcare, you need to have this. If you want to go into banking, you need to have this. Is there something like that? So is that if you have, these qualifications we talked about, then you can just go into everything?
I wouldn't, not off the top of my head, I'd say there's any certifications, but say if you're working within the healthcare sector, there is a certain thing called HIPAA compliance, which is all around healthcare and sensitivity of data within that space. So it's a lot of healthcare companies do look for someone who's working in a HIPAA compliant environment. So that's why you see a lot of engineers who move to a different role, but within the same industry. And in the fintech space, in particular the payments, there's a certain compliance called PCI DSS, which is around payments cards, and also regulation around that. So, I wouldn't say there's any certifications, but more compliance standards that DevOps engineers should know.
And that sort of comes with experience, that part of it as well. Right? Yeah.
I'll just go back to the first question on staying visible and being of appeal to receive a phone call from people like ourselves. Just keep your job history consistent to what you're trying to achieve. We see a lot of people who put things that aren't necessarily quite related to the role that you're going for, or you might have done a 3-week contract at one of your mates' businesses that touched a little bit on cloud, or try and keep that breadth and show hopefully a bit of tenure and loyalty in some of your roles, and then even if they're not cloud related, put those ones in because it shows your stability and your loyalty and all that kind of thing. But don't try and appear too jumpy. Even career contractors, if they've only just if they're constantly moving, every few weeks or every month or what have you, it's hard to not to make that unconscious bias that there might be something there that means that we might not be working with each other. That's just my experience.
I think we're just pretty much at the end of the half hour. We have a Q&A, as you can see in the chat function. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in there, and we just wait for a minute and just see if there's any questions that you guys have for us. Anything else you guys want to add?
I can read the questions well.
Yeah.
Talk about interview. What about interview? How do we do an interview?
So yeah, I think we've touched on the interview tips before. Like, it's obviously important to be genuine and be yourself, but I think at the same time, say with cloud, there's another big thing with cloud is obviously from a hiring manager's perspective, there is the impetus to hire DevOps engineers, obviously, and improve the cloud infrastructure and potentially reduce cloud spend. So if you're going for a role where you're asked to reduce cloud spend, you can obviously allude to any relevant experience you've had doing that. So you may have set up AWS for your for a company that you've worked at. You may have reduced their cloud bills by $10,000 a month. That's very relevant to companies. It obviously shows a potential ROI on what you do.
That's a great point. Not just technical delivery tasks that you've done previously. If you've got some business acumen around cost consumption and things like that, then that's always good. Also, as well, a lot of the roles are remote, and I know you guys are used to working remote quite a lot, certainly compared to more sales-focused roles that we're in. But maybe talk about your home setup and talk about how effective you are from home, because there really are two types of people in my experience: people that struggle to work from home and people that ace it out the park. So really get that across.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Do we have anything? Nothing at the moment?
No questions, yeah.
Okay. Is there any chance that any way they can contact us after? Or?
Yeah, so we're more than happy to take any one-on-one calls about career development or anything like that. You can contact Daniel, which is myself, or mine, which is daniel.barratt@naviro.com.au, and then martin.pearson@naviro.com.au. Solicitor, which is a technology business that I co-founded 7 years ago, does a lot of work around cybersecurity. We're also an AWS marketplace partner. We're always looking to take on some of the sharpest minds in sort of Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. So keen to maybe see if there's any matches and have a chat around that as well. Failing that, obviously Martin can offer some really good advice in the external marketplace, and we're more than happy to help.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things, like, always feel free to reach out to us, even if it's just a chat around what the market looks like, if you're curious as to what trends there are in the market, even if you might be looking for a job where you might not have a role for you, we're more than happy to point you in the right direction and help you find a job through our extensive network.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I think we conclude the webinar then today. Well, thank you, Danny, Martin, and Brad, who's now behind the camera, for coming and answering all these questions. And thank you everyone for joining, and see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.